Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Second discussion. As far as these businesses go for the license renewal, there's a lot. I just want to remind all of them that they do have an obligation to maintain not just the inside, but the outside of their businesses too. So we'll make the motion. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. And if everybody can just remember to maintain the outside of their business, just like they're doing on the inside, that would be greatly appreciated with these renewals. Thank you. Any other business, Madam Clerk?
We have canning for Lynn All-City Music Boosters Band and Orchestra, adults only, from June 4th and 5th, 2022, and Pine Hill Little League, adults only, May 13, 14, 15, 2022.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
On both?
Second.
Motion to approve both?
Yes. Second on both.
We have a second on both. All in favor for both?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Those carry. Both are approved for canning. Any other business, Madam Clerk?
No new business.
No new business. What is the wish of our committee?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Order, roll call, please.
Counsel Staben?
Present.
Present Counsel LaPierre?
Present.
Present Counsel Calucci? Absent Counsel Chakutis? Absent Counsel Field?
Present.
Present.
Thank you. One order of business, order authorizing His Honor the Mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the MBTA to assume ownership of an easement to construct a handicap-accessible bus stop at Myrtle Street and Wilfred Street. Attorney Lamanna?
We do have Commissioner Andy Hall here from the DPW. The MBTA is going to be negotiating with a property owner near the vicinity of this bus stop in order to take a sliver of land to have the bus stop handicaps accessible. Once they get an easement, hopefully from the owner, they don't want to be responsible for shoveling this little sliver. So the memorandum of understanding would allow the city of Lynn to take over the additional portion of the sidewalk that would be created as part of this work, and I know Commissioner Hall's been involved in a lot of these upgrades, and Commissioner wants to hear, but generally very pleased with the work the MBTA has done with respect to all of the bus stop upgrades, and I believe there may be in excess of 30 throughout the city that have been undertaken.
Yeah, it's first class, their work, so I have no problem.
So when it comes time for the city to take responsibility for snow removal and all, we're going to have to send somebody up there to shovel it? Is that what I'm understanding?
No. The city's going to take over the easement. It's still a city sidewalk, so they'll have the same shoveling responsibilities as they do right now.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but what's the piece being private piece?
They need a 6-foot level landing area to unload the handicap lift from the bus, and they don't have that much space on the existing sidewalk, so they need to take 8 inches.
Okay, so they're taking that, and it's just going to be a wider sidewalk in the end?
Yep.
Okay. What's the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci? Absent Counsel Chakutis? Absent Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion been made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And again, Diane's the co-chair. Coming up. We have our litter and trash subcommittee meeting for Tuesday, May 24th, with co-chair Councilor Chakutis. Roll call, please.
Counsel Field?
Present?
Present. Counsel Chakutis? Present. Mr. Donovan? Absent. Ms. Nerick? Present. Mr. Stillion? Absent. Attorney Lamanna?
Present.
Present. And Mr. Pena? Absent.
Okay, we have,
Yep,
We-
you have a quorum.
we have a quorum, great. So this past, last Tuesday, Councilor Chakutis and I, the co-chairs of our City of Lynn Litter Committee, were able to visit and collect the winners from the 20 participating second grade elementaries here in the city, 18 public and 2 private. As you can see displayed along the front of our desk and a couple on each wall to make it aesthetically looking nice. Councilor Coco, thank you for the assistance in setting those up. These are all 20 winners from each school. And what we'll be doing tonight is voting on these 20 to pick one citywide winner that will be on a billboard that I believe is going to be on Boston Street, right by the Dunkin' Donuts. Is that 35 Boston Street? Right there,
Correct, yes.
I believe.
Right across from Andy's.
It's right across from the strip mall there, just before North Bend Street. It'll be facing the southbound lane of Boston Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that'll be up sometime this summer, so that citywide winner that we're voting on tonight will have their poster displayed on that billboard sometime this summer, just like it was 3 years ago. And all 20 of these posters here will be going into production beginning tomorrow at the graphics department at Lynn Vocational Technical High School here in the city, where the students and advisors at the Lynn Tech will be printing 100 copies of each, and those posters, once they're finished, we will be asking businesses to allow us to hang these posters in their businesses all throughout the city. Reminding everybody that the harmful effects of litter, I think if second graders can understand it, everybody else should be able to as well. I thank my co-chair, Councilor Chakutis, for all the hard work she's put in. I thank my colleagues on the City Council, the school committee, our staff here, clerk, and our staff, Terry Young, in the council office, Mayor Nicholson. I certainly appreciate the coverage that we've had in the Daily Item, the Lynn Journal, and Lynn Community Television, covering the Earth Day event for our poster contest. And if anyone else has anything to add.
Thank Lisa, too.
Thank you, Lisa and Eric and the DPW for all their help. Thank you, Waste Management, for sponsoring our event with their donation to cover the cost of supplies. Does anyone else on the committee or any counselor or anyone seated here like to add any comments?
Let's pick the winner.
Let's pick the winner, okay. We'll be voting. Anybody in the council chamber now, before we adjourn, that has not yet voted, please do. And we'll collect the votes before our council meeting at 5:30. We'll count those and we'll announce the winner during that subcommittee then.
Just got to say, Brian, in the committee, everyone did a wonderful job on there in the pitches. I think they're absolutely great. Very.
Thank you, Ms. Nerick. Yeah, they absolutely did a great job. Councilor Chakutis and I went last Tuesday to collect all these posters, and everybody that participated, their posters were hanging in the halls through the schools, and even the ones that aren't displayed here. Man, it was impressive to see the artistic talent that our second graders have. Councilor Lapierre?
I just want to make a quick comment and commend both you, Councilor Field and Councilor Chakutis, because, we didn't do this for the last couple of years because of the pandemic, but it was very nice. It was a very collaborative effort by, everyone involved, including the councilors, and I enjoyed visiting the schools that Monday that we did go out, and it was really energizing to me to see the kids and their excitement on their faces when they got to discuss not only the problems of litter that it causes around our city, but also possible solutions. And I think if we go and, like we're doing, educating the younger kids generationally, You know, we get calls all the time. We know trash is an issue. Littering is an issue. But as we educate year after year and we have this momentum built up, it was just nice to be in a school environment with the kids and all of us together, you know, across the city, hitting the 20 schools. So thank you for your leadership, and thank Councilor Chakoudas for putting this together a few years back, and I'm glad it's taken off the way it has.
Thank you, Councilor Lapierre. So Chakoudas?
Just get people in here to vote so we can pull it before council meetings.
Excellent idea. We have no other business, so what is the wish of our committee? Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Again.
I think he's starting Ways and Means.
Okay. No, those are
Oh, these two.
You, I know which one Jay's got.
2 and 3?
No.
No,
No.
that was the other ones. You got-
Oh, we already did, that's right. Okay. Well, why is Rick up there?
Okay, we good?
Oh, is he
Good
chairman?
afternoon. I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Counsel Net, absent. Counsel Staben?
Present.
Present. Counsel Barton? Present. Counsel Chakutis?
Present.
Present. Counsel Walsh?
Present.
Present.
Okay, thank you. First, financial transfers. Would the clerk please read?
We have 2 certified funds, $200,000 by the Mass Housing Finance Agency to identify and assess abandoned and foreclosed properties in the Orchard Grove neighborhood.
Was the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Made, seconded. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
I should vote.
We have $100,000 by the Department of Travel and Tourism for cultural enhancements at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium.
Was the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Made, seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, we have 2 orders. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, the City of Lynn hereby establishes a school construction stabilization fund for the purpose of funding future school building projects.
Was the wish of the
Motion
committee?
to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, the City of Lynn hereby establishes a school operational stabilization fund for the purpose of funding operational needs of the school department.
Wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Any other business?
We have one more order under new business. Ordered that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A and a half, the City of Lynn hereby accepts a gift of 18 computers to be utilized by the City of Lynn Elder Affairs Department from TEK Collaborative and the Essex County Community Foundation. Further ordered that the Comptroller's office is hereby authorized to take any actions necessary to effectuate the purpose of said gift.
Was the wish of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Made, seconded. Further discussion? I'd like to offer our thanks and appreciation to TEK Collaborative. Roll call, please.
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other business?
Did you need emergency on those? Yes. Motion for emergency on all of them?
Motion
Second.
made, seconded for emergency. Roll call?
Counsel Net absent. Counsel Staben?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
4 now, we're good? Yeah, you take your time. Now to Brian. Out of order. I will. It's pretty up there.
Is everybody here? He was here. Losey?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to have the clerk call the roll for our budget hearings.
Counsel LaPierre?
Present?
Present Counsel Lozey. Absent Counsel Starbird.
Present.
Present Counsel Field.
Present.
Present Counsel Hogan.
Present.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon, everyone. Traditionally, what we have done in years past, including this year, is bring all the department heads together to conduct budget committee hearings with the subcommittee of the council here. The purpose of this meeting is we have read the budget. We have had the budget for a couple weeks now. The purpose of the meeting is for really councilors to ask of you any clarifying questions they may have. So I'm going to ask that you come up, just introduce yourself, maybe give a very brief description, because we do have the budget in front of us, and then allow maybe a couple minutes of dialogue, but then we'll have, if the councilors have any specific questions that you'd like to ask, and I know for Councilor Arlington, first budget hearing as part of this committee, that's your opportunity to ask the department heads of any questions about their departments. I would like to just recognize and take out of order. Normally we do this alphabetically, but this evening I want to move the fire department up and the police department up because they're public safety departments, and no need to have them waiting on us for the evening. So without further ado, I'm going to kick this FY 2023 Budget Committee hearing off. As you know, these hearings are obviously live and advertised to the public. We will be sending down a public hearing on the budget, and we anticipate a vote of the budget on Tuesday, June 14th. There won't be a vote taken this evening. Again, this is preliminary, just so the council has a chance to ask of you any questions they may have. And we will begin with Chief Archer of the Fire Department.
Thank you, councilors. The fire department budget, as you see, is obviously it's a tight budget. It's a slim budget, as it has been the last few budget cycles. But we've managed to tighten our belts and streamline as best we can, understanding the financial constraints of the city. So even having said that, it is a budget that we expect to be able to live within the budget. Obviously one of the most pressing issues is always the overtime amount, which is a bit of a moving target from year to year. We've just come through a couple of years of COVID, which obviously understandably increases the amount of sick time that we saw, but we have not seen an inordinate amount of sick time or injury time the last few years. So we do expect, barring any unforeseen circumstances, that this is a budget that we should not have too much difficulty living within the budget.
Thank you, Chief Archer. Any questions from my colleagues? Councilor Starbird.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, you said that a lot of the sick time and overtime was attributable to COVID. I want to say, if I remember right, it was about $3 million that we did a transfer on.
That sounds like, no, don't quote me on the exact amount, but that sounds about right, yeah.
And the state overseer had referenced that he felt it was best if that was in the budget versus revisiting that at the end of the year. But you're fairly confident that we won't see a repeat of that?
I am. We've obviously, I think we're all seeing the COVID numbers go down now. We're seeing people return to work. We do not have a high amount out right now, and we do not have a high amount of long-term injuries as well, which, has happened in past years. So things seem to be stabilized quite a bit. So I don't anticipate those continued problems because of COVID.
Thank you, Chief.
Council Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, just a couple of questions. I'm just looking at the request and what's recommended, and it's about a $900,000 difference if my math is correct.
Yep.
Is that something that you're agreeing to, or is that something that was?
Was that the difference overall?
Yeah, I'm showing as 21,641,128 for the requested,
Yeah.
and then 20,727,932, which is about 900,000 less.
Well, one of the things that you'll see, and the CFO will be able to speak to this as well, is that the
Viral.
fire alarm budget was separated out. This is the first time it's been separated out from the fire budget, which accounts for, 700 and something odd,
Yep.
$100,000. So that accounts for the larger portion of that, the difference.
Okay, and then just one other question that I have. Is the effect of traveling out of town, because we don't have our own hospital any longer, how much of an effect have you noticed over the past couple of years, especially this past year?
We're still watching that. We're still taking a look at it. The fact that we've lost the Union Hospital and now our medic truck has to make these transports up to Salem Hospital, a longer turnaround time, which means obviously lower revenue that the medic truck brings in through the transports, Medicare, Medicaid reimbursements. So that has had an effect. Anytime we're seeing ambulances out of service longer, whether it be our medic truck or Atlantic's ALS or BLS trucks, then it just means longer wait times for our citizens to see those ambulances on scene and do the transport. So it affects operations a little, quite a bit actually. How much of an effect it's having on us is going to be a little while longer before we're going to have some really good numbers to say, this is how much losing Union Hospital has really affected our operations. Still a little too early to tell, unfortunately.
Thanks, Chief. No more questions.
Thank you. Any other questions from councilors? Seeing none, thank you very much, Chief Archer.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And now we'll call up Lynn Police Department Chief Christopher Reddy.
Good evening, Councilor.
Evening.
The fiscal 2023 Police Department budget is level funded with regard to personnel, which we believe will enable us to continue efforts to hire new officers to replace the significant losses that we've experienced in recent years as a result of retirements and retention issues. As the city continues to grow in population, so also do the demands for service that we receive from members of the community. It is my hope and expectation that we will be able to hire sufficient new officers in the coming year to be able to address some of the many needs that we experience in this community. This would include, this would certainly include ensuring the adequate personnel are assigned to our patrol division, which is the largest contingent of personnel, while also providing opportunities to restore some assignments to special units, including traffic, plainclothes detective units, and hopefully some school resource officer positions. We're also committed to developing initiatives to provide opportunities to engage directly with the community through walking and biker patrols, as well as participation in community events. Body-worn camera program that we implemented last year has been a tremendous success, and it has provided numerous opportunities of the excellent work that our officers do every day while out on patrol. However, it does require some commitment of sworn personnel for administrative and oversight responsibilities. So when we get new technologies like that, it's always important to just be mindful that it does come with personnel requirements as well. It is my hope that as the city continues to improve in financial conditions, we'll be able to restore some of the non-sworn support positions we had in the past. This would include a crime analyst position, and we hope to add a victim advocate to provide support and assistance to victims in the community, especially those who are immigrant and primarily Spanish-speaking. I'm pleased to say that the expense budget, along with the capital improvement authorization, will have a significant positive impact on our operations. This will enable us to replace obsolete computers and upgrade the video recording system in our interview room, which is essential to meet current standards. These funds will also provide the opportunity to make significant upgrades in our fleet, which is sorely needed. Over the course of the coming year, we'll continue to seek new technologies and attempt to identify new initiatives that will enable us to enhance our efforts to increase public safety while also improving efficiency and accountability, much as we did with the implementation of the flock safety system, as well as the acquisition of several software programs in the current fiscal year. We will continue to work with CFO Mike Patino and Mayor Nicholson's office to make them aware of any significant issues that may impact our budget and to identify new initiatives that will help to enhance the public safety of the community and improve service overall.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from my colleagues? Councilor Staben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief Reddy. First, I want to say that the walking patrol and the bike patrols are great to see. They're extremely visible, and when you see them out, they always seem to be engaged with the public, which I think is a great thing.
I agree, and we're committed to doing as much as possible to keep those in place and where we can to expand on them.
So with the current level of officers that you have, how many vehicles or patrol cars run on the streets at a time per shift?
Our standard deployment plan is a 10-car plan with 6 single-officer units and 4 two-officer units. When we have hiring issues and it becomes necessary to compel people to work overtime, we reduce that to 6 two-officer units. And that was primarily was implemented when COVID started and there were hiring issues and we had staff shortages. My hope is that in the coming year, we'll be able to return back to the 10-car plan as the standard on a normal shift. We're also looking at our deployment plans overall. It's always important to just not do what you've always done. It's important to look at new trends and where the needs are and where our calls for service are happening throughout the day and determine if we might need to modify our deployment plan overall.
And when you have to scale down to 6 vehicles on the road, does that pull back the walking and bike patrols as well?
It has an impact on everything because obviously fewer resources, there's more need for those officers to get pulled further. The loss of Union Hospital, for example, requires that every time we have a prisoner who is in need of medical treatment, we have to go all the way up to Salem. It's harder to relieve officers and back and forth, and when you have only 6 units, it's that many, now you have one en route up there to relieve the other. So yeah, certainly when we have the 6-car plan, it reduces our response capability, but up to this point, we have felt that was necessary for safety reasons to have adequate officers with each other to deal with some of the dangers that we have potentially out in the community.
Okay, thank you. And one final question that I probably should have asked Chief Archer as well. Now that we've got 2 of kind of larger developments with residents in them with the Caldwell and Breakwater, have they added much burden on your officers?
We have certainly experienced increased calls to those particular locations. So I would not say the term burden, but when we have more people in the community, there's more issues, there's more calls for service, there's more traffic issues and traffic complaints, and there's more need to just engage. So as we add more and more residential units, there's a greater need for more and more response. And again, that's why it's important to assess our deployment plan and see if it's adequate. It may be necessary to increase it or to modify it. All of those things are in play.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief Reddy.
Thank you. Any further questions? I just want to recognize confidential assistant Ms. Polanski, and you brought your deputy chiefs along as well, Vale and O'Toole. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Okay, we're going to move right along. We'll do the assessors department next. Chris Gator.
Good evening, councilors.
Evening.
The assessing department's responsible for assessing over $11 billion worth of real and personal property. With the support of the council over the last few years, we've been able to streamline operations, bringing in new technology. We started using artificial intelligence a couple years ago to streamline our data collection, and we also now have flyovers of the community 3 times a year that allows us to inspect. We also have shared this technology with other departments. I know public safety departments, DPW, planning department. So some of the tools that we have at our disposal we're able to share with other departments as well. In addition, the budget set forth here allows us to support our appeals. Something that goes unnoticed at times is that we represent ourselves at the state appellate tax board, and with the appraisals we have in here, it's going to allow us to assess some of our large property owners fair and equitable. Primarily, in the budget is a line item to appraise the LNG tank on the Linway. The last time we did an appraisal there, we were about $15 million low on it. So bringing that tax bill up to where it should be took off about $300,000 from the residents. So it's a huge help to us when we go through these appeals, and I appreciate the support that you've shown in the past. This year we do have a 1-year line item for our recertification. Every 5 years we undergo a lengthy process with the state to recertify our values, and that is why you'll see a one-time line item for this year. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yes, any questions from councilors? Seeing none? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
And CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Mike Bertino's office. Mike, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you again, Michael Bertino, City CFO. I just want to say a couple quick things. It was my pleasure to work with all the departments in the mayor's office together to present this document to the city for review. As far as it relates to my department, I'm happy to say that since I started until today, I now have a staff of myself and 1.5 full-time equivalent. They've been great. We've been able to do a lot of things together as a unit, and we continue to look forward to working with all the departments to support them in any way we see fit. As far as the budget goes, we understand that, although our revenues aren't as robust as they were in 2021 and 2022, we understand that it's still a strong budget. It still has revenue to support both our operating needs and the capital needs for many of the departments among the city. Again, I think we're doing a decent job. We're continuing to improve things, and we're working together with everybody to make sure all the tax dollars are spent wisely and efficiently as we can.
Any questions from the councilors? Council Stabbit?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, when crafting the budget with the rising fuel costs in mind and level funded for all departments, how will these rising fuel costs impact all these various departments, whether it's police, fire, DPW, anybody else with vehicles on the road, and who absorbs that?
Okay. So as far as fossil fuels go, for the actual fuel, both the diesel and the gasoline, those line items increase substantially. And one of the things what we'll do is, because a lot of the repairs, a lot of the products that are petroleum based are in the DPW budget. So one of the things we're doing this year is we'll vote that budget 2 line items, one for personnel and one for expenses. And in my experience, what that does is allow for greater flexibility for the department head to move money around. If he sees that tires have also gone up 25 or 35%, it's not going to give him more money, but it'll give him more choices. And we understand that, hopefully this won't last the whole year, but it very well could. So when it comes to those items, we're aware of that. We'll monitor it. In the budget, it calls for monitoring monthly, which we monitor monthly, but we're going to actually talk about it monthly, just because the department heads, most notably DPW, because they do all the repairs down there, they're going to see an increase before anyone else does. I've received letters on my own saying that certain heavy equipment pieces are going up 12, 14, 22, 23%, if you can get them. Fortunately, we've made a pretty significant investment over the last 3 years, and hopefully our vehicles are a little bit more fuel efficient. It's also, as the chief of police mentioned earlier, that they run, 2-man patrols in vehicles. Who knows, if gas gets to $6.50 or $7.50 a gallon, maybe we'll have to sit down and have 2 1,000-person patrols again for a short time to help combat the increases. We're aware of it, and that's the number one thing in a budget. You want to be aware of what's going on. We've allocated additional money for those fossil fuels, but we're also going to give him additional leeway with his line items, so he'll be able to manage it more effectively.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Councilor Hogan.
Yes, the last 4 years, could you just talk about the free cash growth that we see increasing here over the last 4 years?
Sure. We've seen significant free cash growth over the last 4 years. I think probably most notably is, you went from a part-time CFO to a full-time, so we get to dedicate more time. We worked together very closely with Comptroller's office, Treasurer's office, the Mayor's office, and all the grant funding, and patched a lot of holes that we had in our system. We took some write-downs because of COVID, because we couldn't expect, the certain establishments to pay their fees, so we took write-downs for those. And this is the first year we start to recognize revenue a little bit more closer to actual. So although we peaked last year at 31 million, I don't anticipate that we'll have 31 million coming this year. I think a more normal number is around 14 to 16 million for the city. But that doesn't mean we didn't do good things with the 31 million. We socked a lot away for capital improvements. We have 37 buildings in the community. If, God forbid, if somebody loses a roof or a boiler, we have the money to fix that. We increased our budget for the school buildings over $3 million to do more frequent maintenance repairs. So we're trying to keep our house in better order, where instead of reacting to an event, we get to plan for the event.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Hogan. Any other any questions? Councilor Ellingson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, thank you so much for this presentation. I actually spent my whole weekend reading this. Some just clarification questions about some of the figures here. So you said this year we are up for 40 million budget for the city.
Correct.
And 75% of that is coming from Chapter 70 school aid. So $10 million is the increase of this year. And I've seen the allocation, which is good. The problem is, not problem, but question is, for the ARPA money, the 4 million ARPA funds, is that number one part of the 10 million? Or do we need, that will be deducted to all whatever left money for ARPA?
No, the ARPA money is totally separate. So the budget before you talks about some of the ARPA funding we've already did. In some of the suggestions we're doing, it's about 6 or 7 pages in. The street work, the sidewalk work, equipment for DPW, some equipment for the fire department as well as the police department. So that is outside of those numbers. You're looking at that. Those will require a separate vote. As per council order, they wanted to vote those things individually. So the general fund budget, you're correct, is up 40 million, of which the large percentage of that is related to school in Chapter 70. Ours is related to a small increase in the general government assistance line item, as well as our normal tax levy increase and a small amount of local receipts increase. That makes up the other roughly 9.5 million. The ARPA money and that chart you see in the budget would be not included in those numbers that you're looking at. Those are specific votes that we'll ask you to take at the budget hearing.
Thank you. Just one last question since you're here. I appreciate in the future if you can, in a layman's eyes, a lot of the questions here are very questionable. I have to ask somebody about figures and some elaboration of some of the allocation of money. For example, DPW, when you ask something about 1.3 million for snow parks and road improvements, maybe in the future you can just allocate what specific amount will this amount will go through.
Well, that was a specific request. That was a specific request by one of the department heads, along with members of the council. They wanted to collectively, work on the equipment that will fix.
So for 1.3 million, that's a truck, 2 trucks?
No, that could be 6 or 7 pieces. That's to help manage the snow operations in the winter and the park operations in the spring and summer. So we wanted to have a little bit of flexibility because of supply chain issues. We're a little bit unique where we may need different types of equipment to get down certain streets that traditional equipment wouldn't fit down. So again, we were trying to create a little bit more flexibility. Again, with supply chain issues too as well. We may not be able to get everything we need in 1 year.
You answered my question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. CFO. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Comptroller Steve Sensa. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Stephen Spencer, City Comptroller. Basically, I'd like to thank the mayor as well as the CFO for fully funding the requested budget that you guys have before you. Basically, salaries is a predominant big piece of my budget, as well as our annual audit that is mandated by the state for the city of this size. And that's really all of our budget. It's very lean.
Can you just explain what Munis, it's called Munis Migration Liaison. What is that position?
Yep, that's a position within the office that basically Munis is our accounting system. So that's our reporting system, accounting system, and basically it's a fully integrated system, human resources, payroll, but we have a person who actually is in charge of setting up chart of accounts, properties, permissions, the whole 9 yards. And that's what that person is responsible for.
All things Munis, huh? Exciting. Okay.
All things Munis, training, the whole 9 yards, from the
Good.
front end to the back end.
Excellent. Okay.
So any new person who comes on board, they have a training with the Munis liaison.
Other departments who come on to
Yes.
City Hall, they're trained by this person.
Yes.
And they can continue to work with them on
Yep.
problem troubleshooting,
Yep.
the Munis
And then
system.
There's good users, there's better users that train the trainer, within City Hall, but that's the point of that position.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions, Comptroller Spencer? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go right on to Chris Gomez, our Council on Aging Director. Nice to be able to say that after some years, right? It's a new department, new beginnings.
Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Chris.
Chris Gomez, Director of Elder Services. So a year ago, I was the only staff member here, and now I'm glad to say that we've hired 3 staff, Program Manager Tanya, Outreach Coordinator Michelle, Jim Sarian, and a Head Clerk, Mabel DeLeon, and we're in the process of hiring a driver as well. So when I started this job, we didn't have a senior center. It was just, a hope and a dream in a sense. But thanks to all the help from the council, the mayor's office, and specifically Diana, we have a new senior center. And, we did our first soft opening last week. And little by little, we'll expand the timing and the programming and the services we can offer. But in the meantime, we just open 2 hours a day. We're going to continue to work hard logistically. Once we're ready, we'll be there full time within a week or 2. And we'll continue to work, on grants. We've received several grants this year and several donations. Mr. Cataldo gave us a new shuttle bus. I just received another donation, 18 all-in-one Google gifts, which is basically a better Chromebook. It's a desktop without all the wires. So hopefully we'll be able to use that in our new computer lounge. And yeah, we'll keep putting our best foot forward to open a new great senior center for the seniors. That's pretty much
Excellent.
it.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Counsel Hogan.
I'd just like to say I've been to the senior center a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, and it's amazing just to see everyone down there. They're so excited. We actually got a board game drive going right now. If anyone has any board games they'd like to drop off to the senior center, that will help out with an expense that he doesn't have to pay for. And so far, I think we had like 14 board games dropped off this week. So Chris and your staff just keep doing a great job, and it's a great addition to the city of Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Chris. Okay, Commissioner Hall, Andy Hall, DPW, next up.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Andy.
Andrew Hall, Commissioner of Public Works. I'd like to thank Mayor Nicholson, CFO Bertino, and his team for crafting this budget. It's not an easy task. The DPW has been allotted $14.8 million, $8 million which of that is designated for trash and recycling costs. This budget will allow us to retain all of our 50 hardworking full-time employees, and I'm very excited to work within this budget to provide our services in the safest and most cost-effective manner possible. Any questions?
Perfect. Questions? Yes, Counsel Staben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andy, I know in the wintertime we had kind of talked a little bit about equipment and particularly a front-end loader. Is that one of the things that's going to be added with the vehicles?
Yes, so that's outside the $14.8 million operating budget. That's it's from ARPA, and it's categorized as the lost revenue category. But I'm shooting for 2 loaders and 3 heavy plows and a tractor for the Parks Division.
Okay. And will there be any additional, this is probably on every councilor's mind, additional paving projects over what we saw last year?
Yes, so in addition to my roughly $1.5 million Chapter 90 allotment, not all of which is paving, but the vast majority is, again, through this ARPA lost revenue category, $1.5 million additional for streets and sidewalk repair.
Okay. And has any other requests, ARPA requests gone in for any additional?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of park requests, trash barrels, litter control type equipment. Answer your question, yes.
So hopefully we'll be seeing those.
Fingers crossed, yes. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Any other questions from councilors? Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andy, thanks for coming again. I know we've been meeting a lot about different stuff. Excuse me. I know last year's budget, the 2022 budget that we're in now, funded for one specific employee for litter.
Yep.
Just focused on litter. Is that also included in this particular budget? Because that was an increase that we did last year.
Yes, he's included in this budget, yep.
Okay. All right.
I say he, but that position, yes.
That position, yep. Thank you. No other questions.
Yeah, no more from Council Field. Councilor Ellingson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
In follow-up with Councilor Starbird's question and some for Councilor Field's question, do we have a system in the city to prioritize area that needs refurbishing? Or can we just point any complaints coming from the residents about their street needs to be refurbished? Some streets have been not touched for the past 30 years. How do we identify those?
So we have a pavement management system that was completed back in 2015, which they basically drove all the streets and categorized them. I have lengths, widths, condition of the pavement. Again, this is from 2015. Right. So we use that combined with the complaints from residents and whatnot, and we come up with a priority list. This budget includes a new flyover, if you will. It's not really flying, it's more of a drive through, but we are going to re-up the pavement management system so that we can use science versus squeaky wheel type behavior to decide which streets get paved and which do not.
Right. Second question, in your budget, do you have a budget specific for people in our residents don't have vehicle to drop off their beds or TVs or any curbside programs?
Absolutely, yep. So Waste Management, through our contract with them, will pick up bulk items curbside for a fee of, I believe it's $24. You put it at the curb, they'll pick it up on your recycle day, you pay for it
That
with
one
your
I'm
credit card.
aware. Any program in general to cater our residents who can't afford to pay a certain amount of money.
Not to those who can't afford it, no.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Back to Council Field.
Thank you. Just one last question, just to piggyback on Councilor Allensung's question. I know myself and a number of colleagues in the years past, again, I'll ask it again this year. Has it been budgeted for one curbside collection for 2023 fiscal year?
It has not, no, but we do have 9 free drop-off days at Covanta, the transfer station across the street from us. So if you have residents who have things they'd like to get rid of at no charge, they can bring them down on those 9 days, events, and dispose of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Field. Any other questions for Commissioner Hall? Seeing none, thank you, Commissioner Hall.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Council Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of information for my colleagues. I know there's been a lot of ARPA questions. As far as an update for ARPA, every department within the city was asked to submit proposed projects in the project phase, and those projects from each department are currently being vetted through the mayor's office with the CFO, so that's been incorporated into this budget, kind of working with what ARPA can be allowed for on specific projects, like Commissioner Hall just said, different pieces of equipment, and barrels, these and other pieces of equipment. Those are just some examples, but every department has been asked to submit already during the project phase. That's being vetted before the private projects will be vetted. So a lot of that's going to be looked at and then proposed to the Ways and Means Committee and then to full council sometime after that vetting is complete.
Thank you so much. We're going to move right on to the GAR building. Wendy Joseph, Grand Army of the Republic Hall. Good evening.
Good evening. Wendy Joseph, curator at the GAR. We are requesting a level-funded budget to be able to continue the work that we've been doing. An awful lot of it was replacing equipment that kind of took a little vacation, took a little walk during the absence of the custodial person being at the building. We've been recycling and being really creative in the reuse. For example, computers that were 10 years older or more are now being used, since they can't run the software, they're being used for video situations to show certain things in the museum. And we also have 3 opera propositions are already in, and those would be for the HVAC system and the elevator in order to get us ADA compliant, and then finally the facade of the building, which is one of our main issues when the public walks by or drives by.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy on the GAR? Thanks for all your great work. Council Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wendy, I just want to say that you're doing a great job with the GAR. I did meet with Mayor Nicholson last week to discuss some ARPA stuff, and just the conversation is shocking how much the federal government, lacks proper funding for such a treasure that we have in the city. I'm glad that the city recognizes that it is level funded and you are receiving everything that you've asked for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you, Wendy. Next up, we'll go to Peter in IT, the IT department.
Good afternoon, councilors. Peter F. Stradios, IT. Our budget also level funded, and we're very capable of living within the means of it. What we do is we have contracts that we pay out, and we also always look to upgrade computers, security, and infrastructure.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions from councilors? Seeing none. Oh, Council Staben.
Thank you. And Peter, I don't know if this goes to you, but one of the topics that was discussed during the election season last year was the city's website.
Mhm.
I don't know if that falls under IT or another department. But
The mayor's office is dealing with that at this point.
Okay.
So I know they were talking about doing an upgrade to it, but I'm not sure where that stands.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Moving right along to our ISD department, Mr. Donovan, Inspectional Services.
Good afternoon, councilors.
Afternoon.
The Inspectional Services budget has been increased approximately $4 million. The majority of that is on the school side. There have been some increases due to contractual increases on our maintenance contracts on the city side, but other than that, the increase has been on the school side for the increased maintenance needs of the buildings due to their age, and the school receiving more Chapter 70 money. It was a very busy year this year. We expect a very busy year next year. We are meeting our goals. There continue to be COVID clinics. We're striving to do increased energy efficiency projects in all the buildings to meet our green community goals. And we are upgrading computer equipment in order to allow us to be more interactive with other departments, but also with our inspections. Our inspections now can be seen in real time. If one wanted to see them when the inspector completes his inspection, it pops up in the computer. So the system that we are working with SmartGov will shortly allow us to go live with online permitting. I know I've been talking about that for 2 years now, but we're finally getting there. And it will also allow, though, any other department who has a user log on, which we can get them to look into a property. People will be able to look into a property by coming online and see what permits have been issued. So if somebody's doing work on a house, they can look and see, was a permit issued for that, without having to call City Hall. So we're looking forward to a successful year, and no questions that will live within our budget, barring any unforeseen circumstances, such as the Callahan School roof blowing off last year. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mike. Council Field, then we'll go to Council Staben. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike, with the 2 new properties that we acquired over the past couple of months, do you see the health department shifting to one of those 2 buildings? Any increase to the proposed 2023 budget? Any effects?
The addition of 2 buildings to the city will increase our budget. I mean, there's going to be fuel increases because we're burning natural gas and electricity that we weren't before. I believe you have in front of you tonight, in regards to State Street, the CFO can speak to this more than I can, but there's a revolving fund, I believe.
Yes.
There's an income source at that building to support the maintenance and goings-on in that building. In regards to the Friend Street building, we're collecting the information now of what the cost will be to run that building. We have Element Care is still in that building and will be in that building till their building that they're applied for building permit to redo at the old Union Hospital site is completed. That'll be another year. And they are paying they're paying for the utilities to be there in lieu of rent. They're going to be maintaining the building and paying for their utilities. Our costs in that building will revolve around snow removal and our cleaning cost for the first year. So I'll have a better handle on what exactly things will cost when we get there. Now, currently we're out to RFQ, and we've received responses for house doctors, for architects and engineers. So within the month, we'll be sitting down with the people who are going to be occupying these buildings and the architects to do feasibilities, to determine the layouts and what the cost will be to fit out these places for the respective departments that will be there. At that point, any impacts on operating costs will be discovered through the feasibility study, so I'll be able to answer those questions better at that time.
Thank you. And Council Staben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, does the current staffing allow for proper amount of inspectors and
and all to get the job that they need to get done, whether it's building or the other trades or health?
Yes. So right now, finding certified inspectors is almost impossible. Every community in the Commonwealth is looking for building inspectors, plumbing inspectors, electrical inspectors, because the wages that are paid is one of it. Two is the interest in being an inspector. I mean, if you're an electrician, you can make more money than we're ever going to dream of paying an inspector being an electrician. And the whole concept of working as an inspector for the government, while it used to be, and this is my personal opinion, maybe a valued job, doesn't seem to have as much value as it used to, because when we receive applications, we don't receive applications. We put ads out and we get applications from people who aren't qualified, but the people that are qualified don't want to work. And it's community, it's statewide, it's not just not Lynn.
Trying to get somebody to leave the trades, it's kind of what the same problem vocational schools.
Yes, I mean,
are having.
and there is no vocational program to become a building inspector. Usually guys came out of the trades, they'll come on board, get certified. That's an expensive and slow process for the city to bring in an uncertified person, then train them for 18 months or a year to get them up to speed and then pass their tests. And if they don't pass their tests, then they can't continue their employment. To go counteract that, our rental ordinance, our rental inspection ordinance, we've outsourced that. And they're a company that's brought people in. They're qualified, certified to do the work, and they're doing it.
Is that safe, Bill, Mike?
That is
that what
safe.
you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
We're approximately right now, we're approaching 10,000 units that have registered. We believe there's approximately 18,000 registered units, rental units in the city. So we're increasing the registrations, and we're working towards our goals. And they've been doing a lot of inspections and finding a lot of apartments that were unknown to us before. They're not in our records, and they exist in spots that they should not exist. So we've been able to supplement our inspection processes so we're not falling behind by using contractors. It's the same way with the electrical, plumbing, and now I have contracted out, the city has contracted out certain of our field inspections for the building code, because we put an ad out, we could not fill the slot. So my guys are inside are doing complaint inspections, so if you call a city employee, a complaint, a city employee is going to show up. Periodic inspections, if you need the cert, like every year the schools, churches have to be inspected to make sure they're safe. That's a city employee. The building code inspections, which depend on permit volume, are done by the contractor. And right now, our permit volume is off 25%. The last 2 years have been horrendous. Now, permit revenue has been up because we've had a 10-story building, we've had some major projects in the city. But right now, my permit volume is tracking back lower than it was in 2017. Because of supply chains, because of inflation, we're not seeing a lot of work that we normally would have seen. People aren't building decks, people aren't fixing up their establishments because of the cost of supplies. So hopefully, as the country moves out of the pandemic, we'll see this volume come back up. But my point being is that because we only pay the contractor to do the inspections when they do the inspection, we haven't been impacted in regards to getting things done or accomplishing what we need to in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
I just had one more thing to add.
Sure, please.
And I should have gotten into my brief. I apologize, is that we're talking about fuel costs. The city, in regard to electricity and natural gas, has contracts going out another year or two. We just bid out the gas contract and actually came back 5 cents a unit cheaper than we had before. So the city is set for the next 3 or 4 years with electrical and natural gas supply at a rate that is much less, almost half as much as you or I are paying in our houses right now.
Good work.
Good, thank you. That's a great point of information. Councilor Allingson has a question, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The dog officer, Mike, is under your department, correct?
No, sir, he's under the police department.
The police department. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Moving right along, Law Department, Attorney George Markopoulos.
Good afternoon. George Markopoulos, City Solicitor for the Law Department. I'm pleased to appear before the Budget Committee this evening to answer any questions regarding the Law Department's fiscal 2023 budget. I'd like to thank the Mayor, Chief Financial Officer Michael Bertino, and the Lynn City Council for all the support that you've given us throughout these times. We are, in fact, level funded. As members of the Council know, the Law Department has daily interaction with the Mayor's Office, the Lynn City Council, and almost every city department. I'm proud of the work and legal guidance that the Law Department provides the City of Lynn elected officials and appointed officials. I'd like to highlight some of the matters that the Law Department is involved in. We advise and support the Mayor, the City Council, boards, commissions, committees, and all departments. We comply with open and public meetings, the ethics laws. We comply with Public Record Act requests. We deal with local entity formation and governance. We deal quite a bit substantially with litigation. We're involved with property acquisition and property disposition. We're involved with economic development, eminent domain, drafting of numerous legal documents. We're involved in land use and planning, environmental issues, public finance. Most recently, we've been involved very intimately with the Mayor's Office and the Council developing development agreement for developers in the City of Lynn. We've drafted Affordable Housing Trust Fund documents, various resolutions and home rule petitions. We participate with and advise various development teams throughout the city. We draft ordinances and legal opinions. We've successfully navigated through the eminent domain takings of State Street, Friend Street, and numerous properties on Linfield Street with regards to the Linfield Street reconstruction. We have been involved for years with the development and implementation of the senior center that has recently opened. We've had a very recent Supreme Judicial Court victory upholding the City of Lynn Health COVID Enforcement Acts. Finally, I'd like to thank you, the Council, the Mayor, Mr. Bertino, and the skilled and dedicated people that I work with every day that make up the Law Department, Kathleen, James, Jim, and Rick. Any questions I can answer.
Thank you, City Solicitor Markopoulos. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving right along to our library, Teresa Hurley. Good evening, Director Hurley.
Good evening, thank you for having me. We're basically level funded. Just a reminder of, we have 3 requirements that we have to meet to remain state certified. One is the municipal appropriation requirement, which will have met with this budget. Also, the materials expenditure requirement. We have to spend 12% of our budget on lending materials for patron usage. So that amount is $139,878. This budget allows $82,133. So we'll have to come up with a little over $50,000 to find elsewhere to meet that requirement. And the third requirement is the minimum hours open requirement from September through May, because everything is based on population. We have to be open a minimum of 63 hours per week, 6 days a week. So our typical schedule during that time is Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5. I currently have a staff of 15 full-time and 2 part-time, and we do at times struggle to cover the building. It's a big building. We're open to the public. We've seen an increase in various incidents, that anyone does when they deal with the public. But other than that, we should remain certified.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from councilors for Ms. Hurley? Council Staben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You say you're 50,000 short deficit in the budget for enough money to keep your certification?
Well, typically, we would just go elsewhere to find, donations, trust funds, we use that state grant money.
Okay, so it's something that frequently occurs.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
And somehow or another, you're always able to overcome that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do they still do fines on late library books? Is that passé, or do you still fine?
No, we
What is the
eliminated
fine?
fines.
You've eliminated fines,
Yes.
right? They just bring the books back if they're late?
That's right.
And you just check them back in? Okay. So that's not a source of any kind of revenue any longer?
No.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? I'm dating myself. Library fines. Sorry.
Safe to return your book.
The kids are on, they're on iPads and everything right now. They have no idea what a library book fine means or is. Okay, thank you, Miss Hurley. Appreciate your time. Moving right along to our parking department, Mr. Cillian.
Good evening. Bob Cillian from the Acting Parking Director of City of Lynn. The budget we are fine with. I think the mayor did a terrific job and the CFO. Before I get bombarded with a lot of questions, we are hiring the positions that we're getting the calls from the council and the citizens. The mayor did put in a third shift position, but that person did leave. And the mayor is actually expediting everything to get us all the help we need. So we are going to fill the shifts on the second and third shift, which should alleviate a lot of the problems we're having right now. I am going out the best I can and tag on what we can. But I think next year the budget looks terrific. And as far as any enforcement, we're looking, I would think sometime tonight, we'll be getting something from the mayor's office tomorrow. They're going to be putting a person on this week. We're going to be staggering them. Another one should be starting next week. And then we're looking at a third candidate probably for the next week. So we're in terrific shape. Again, the mayor's office did a terrific job in filling those positions that are desperately needed where all our calls come in, and the CFO with the money for that. So next year, we're in very good shape from the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Cillian. Any questions for Bob? Council Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bob, I'm just looking through the request and comparing budget to last year's budget. The request was a little bit more than last year, and then the final overall recommended is actually not just less than the request, but less than the last year's fiscal 22 that we're in now. Is that because of hiring? Is that?
That's just because of the position changes and stuff. We did some maneuvering around to get the people for the coverage for the councils where we're getting the calls. The mayor was very concerned about the citizens not being covered, and a lot of that is just moving around positions to get the second and third shifts covered.
Okay, and that's okay with,
We-
I think it's about $5,000 or $6,000.
Yeah, we
less
can
than last
definitely
year's
live
budget.
within it. I think the mayor's office and the CFO did a terrific job with it, and especially being able to answer the calls that we're getting on the night, which I get the looks from the council as we are going to resolve that.
Thank you.
The mayor's office is working on getting those employees hired.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Councilor Allenson?
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. I'm so glad that Councilor Field mentioned that because you received lesser from your money you requested from original request. And for a city of 105,000, I mean, it's really, we need people and not just you and your immediate staff. I just want this council to know and the public that I made an experiment one time and I called you at 1 in the morning just to make sure that somebody will pick up the phone, and you did. And then you sent somebody, and that's not fair. I mean, a department should have more staff, and I should be confidently can call a number that knowing somebody will be there and not waking you up in the middle of the night. And if you could push for more personnel in your department, that will make our lives as councilors easier as well. So
I believe with what the mayor and John Tebow actually did, giving us that second and third shift, we're going to be able to take the calls for the police department again now. They'll have a 24-hour number so the police can actually call and dispatch. I'm anticipating tonight or tomorrow they're going to be approving the first person, which will start on Thursday. Then we're having another one start on Tuesday next week, and then right along. That's going to alleviate a lot of the problems. And again, I don't mind getting called by anybody as I'm looking around at all the calls I get.
will try
I'm
not to
fine
call
with
you at
that, and
1
I'm,
a.m.
and again, the mayor's office has really, we talked about the money, and we are fine with the budget. They did a terrific job. I really have no complaints. The CFO got us a vehicle that we need in the mayor's office, so we're actually in good shape this year getting what we needed, so we'll be in great shape next year. Extra help is a great thing. Not that we're here for the revenue, we're here for the citizens to control the parking problems. But with this addition to the thing, there is going to be a significant amount of revenue that comes with that. But we're not in it for the revenue, we're in it for the help of the councils and the citizens to control the parking problems.
Well, thank you, Bob. Keep up the good work.
And I just want to be on record, and I maintain my curfew of midnight before I bother you. I don't call you after 12, so.
It was an experiment.
And Bob is right. One of the few departments that generate revenue for us around the city, but that's not really the primary focus. The primary focus is to enforce the ordinances around the city for parking and so forth. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Council Stabbit has a question.
I just want to quickly say thank you to Mr. Stillion and his staff for being as responsive as they are. Whether it's snow, whether it's commercial vehicles, whether it's, fire hydrants and all. I mean, probably the person I communicate with the most.
We all do.
And they definitely get the job done, so thank you.
In almost 30 years, we've never been this short-handed, and the mayor has really stepped up to try to get us back up to staff.
Excellent. We've been advocates of that for a long time, so that's great to hear. Okay, moving right along. Personnel Department, Director Russo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Drew Russo, Personnel Director. Grateful to Mayor Nicholson, the council, for allowing us to present to you tonight what is a level-funded budget from last year. Last year's budget, we did increase, particularly in terms of our outside professional services and training line. What that's allowed us to do is to add Velocity, which is a software that we're going to be rolling out in force at the beginning of the fiscal year. That will be an online compliance portal for our employees, which will help with the training process. We've also expanded training opportunities working with our DEI officer, and this summer we'll be moving into the third phase of intercultural competence and implicit bias trainings for all of our employees, which all of our department heads and supervisory personnel have been through. So it really keeps us moving forward on that track. From a staffing standpoint, we have a great team in personnel. We were able to add a human resources generalist last year. That has allowed us to basically do all of our office's processes online. It's increased the number of applicants that we have. It's increased our ability to outreach and really expand the applicant pool. And as a result, we are building a city workforce that is becoming more and more reflective of the community that we serve here in Lynn. Obviously, you can see the highlights in the budget narrative itself, but we are very grateful for the support that we've received from the council, from the mayor, our colleagues here in the room tonight that we work with very, very closely, particularly in the hiring and onboarding process. And we also are very glad to report that in terms of our health insurance agreement, working with the City Labor Council, the previous administration, and the Treasurer Collector's Office, we are actually in agreement with all of our city bargaining units on health insurance through 2025, which is always a great thing for us to be able to say, because that's a major cost driver for the city, and it's a good plan and proposal that we've had. And so I'm happy to entertain any questions, but thank you for the support of our department and what we do to try to keep moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Drew?
I don't really have a question. I just want to say, Drew, you and your whole staff has been really great, transparent, getting the jobs out there, letting people know when there's city jobs available. And I get a real good feedback from the community that the city of Lynn is putting their best foot forward to make sure we get that message out there. And Drew and your staff, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan. And if I can add one other thing,
sure,
on that point, because I think it's an important one. I think that what we have done really is well reflected in the people that we have onboarded, the new city employees. They've been great additions to our staff. And, recently we just completed a conversational Spanish course for employees. That's part of what we used our budget funds for. Councilor Lozzi participated in a number of the sessions, which was great. I think for our employees to see that support from the council, the CFO, John Tebow from the mayor's office. And it's really initiatives like that that I think will help us better communicate with the public, but also give that kind of continuing education and training for employees that's really going to help all of us succeed.
That's great. Great comments. Any other questions from the councilors? Seeing none, thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Chair.
your time. Okay, we're going to move right on to the purchasing department. Tim Leonard. Oh, Mike, are you presenting on behalf of Tim?
Yes, Counselor. Tim had a family obligation, so
Sure.
he asked me to speak on his behalf. So the purchasing department is fully funded with their existing staff. They've been extra helpful and beneficial when it comes to all this opera purchasing, because the opera purchasing has a whole lot of new requirements that we have to put in to the request for proposals in any RFP we put out. So he's been working closely with Don Castle and our consultants to make sure all the future RFPs comply with the opera requirements in the federal government. As far as his office, they're continue to use technology to make, things easier and to remain paperless. And we're still getting a lot of compliments and positive feedback from the DocuSign, which Tim pioneered when he 3 years back before COVID started, and it made life easy for a lot of people. And paperless society is something to strive for, and it saves us money and time, and it allows for a better filing system and retrieval system. So he's very happy with the way his office is running. He knows he has to pay special attention to the procurement laws, but he's up for the task, as well as his staff too.
Great. Any questions for Mike on behalf of Tim? Seeing none, you're off the hook, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. School Department, Lynn School Department, Dr. Tutwiler is next.
Evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, councilors. The school department will receive an increase of nearly $29 million in Chapter 70 funds for FY23. The city's chief financial officer has indicated that the school department's budget allocation for FY23 will be $207 million, just over that, which represents a $25.6 million increase over the FY22 budget. Bear in mind that this is a historic increase, and it is part and parcel of the Student Opportunity Act. This is law that reconfigures funding formulas to address decades-old issues in districts like ours. It calls for a 7-year true-up, if you will. The FY23 budget is year 2 of a 7-year commitment. All districts were required to solicit stakeholder input to determine how the funds would be allocated. What is proposed in our budget reflects this input and thus concerns and wishes of our community. At a high level, this budget does the following for students: increases access to mental health supports for all students. We will accomplish the research-supported clinician-to-student ratio of 1 to 250. More personalized support for students with disabilities through reduced caseloads. Maintaining or reducing class sizes where possible. Increase access to the arts, including dance at classical for the first time. And then access to a new one-of-a-kind early college program in the state of Massachusetts. I also want to be clear that this does quite a bit for our professional family, our staff, as well, who continue to work so valiantly in less than ideal circumstances. First, with more than 200 additions in staff, we will be able to achieve reduced caseloads and increase supports in special education and with mental health. We're adding an opportunity at the elementary level for professional collaboration each week, and an additional opportunity for all staff for professional learning with a full-day professional development opportunity in the 22-23 school year. And finally, there's increased purchasing power at each school and with supplies and in our libraries as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any question? Counsel Staben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Tutwiler, what's been the increase in student enrollment in the last year?
So we're in interesting times with student enrollment. We're currently about 16,000, almost 800 students. Last year we saw a dip, and we think that that was coronavirus or pandemic related. We're back now to where we were at pre-pandemic levels in terms of enrollment, which is actually unique in the state of Massachusetts and really, quite frankly, in urban centers across the country. You know, we're back to where we used to be at a high level.
Picking 400, 500, 600 kids up a year?
I mean, this is just year one beyond, you know, what we experienced last year, but it appears as though that is where we're trending.
And thank you. And with the ever-increasing enrollment and the overcrowded classrooms and, you know, our best-case scenario for Pickering, I think was 2026. So we're 4 years away from that.
Correct.
On a school that's only going to take on an additional 500 kids. Has any thought been given to, and I know this is more a Bennett Street
conversation,
that committee kind of conversation, but I was just curious if any thoughts maybe been given to split shifts or to ease some of that overcrowding in the classrooms.
Yeah, I mean, we want to prioritize first what is in the best interest of students with respect to their mental health and with respect to their learning. And you know, they're competing camps, two opposite camps on what split shifts would do in terms of those two important factors. What I would say is, while there are definitely challenges at the secondary level with respect to class size, it is not universal. For example, Pickering still has very manageable class sizes. Many of the class sizes at Marshall are manageable. We have some significant challenges at classical and English. Tech has, elevated class sizes this year, but this budget will actually allow us to reduce the class sizes in core content areas there. And elementary, right now we're seeing some of the best class sizes that we've experienced in years. And so what I would not want to do is rush to a decision that could detrimentally impact student learning and mental health, and instead be very thoughtful and careful about a sustainable plan around class sizes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Tutwiler? I have just a observation, if you will, or a comment. Knowing the size and scope of the budget for this year in particular, and without engaging in collective bargaining, which is illegal to do, but we know you're currently in negotiations with teachers among other units. With the unprecedented amount of money you see coming into the city, a lot of the teachers did fight with you on that money at the State House and are looking for opportunities to make use of that money. I look at the pie chart, which is very helpful to me. There's a chart that looks at 78% of the district being direct services, and then there's another line item of 7%, which I would characterize as management. And then there's sort of this 15% of a hybrid, almost like mid-level management, part district, part leadership, part direct services, part leadership. Can you explain a little bit in detail what that chart refers to?
So just to be clear, that pie chart reflects what is proposed in the budget, not the existing staffing in our district. And direct service are all of our staff and professionals who provide a direct service to students and families.
Teachers, paras.
Teachers, social workers, paraprofessionals, clerks, everyone who essentially is not an administrator, school psychologist, I could go down the list. What's in the section that you refer to, where there is both an expectation of responsibility around leadership tasks, but also direct service, would be like a department head in a school, for example. There's a big shift this year with our clinical model, providing mental health supports to all students which includes the addition of what we call clinical supervisors, who provide supports for the social workers in the building, but then also carry a caseload of students. So those are examples of folks who would fall into that category.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Tutwiler? Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right, moving right along. Treasurer Collector, Elise?
Good evening, counselors. I promise to ask for less money than the school department. Thank you for having me here tonight. Elise Fannin from the Treasurer Collector's Office, and we are mostly known for collecting real estate, personal property, excise, and the solid waste fee. Our main costs from our department are our salaries, but in addition, we pay for land court, legal services, having to do with tax title, foreclosures, and the fees we have to pay to the registry for recording deeds in the tax title liens. Another cost, which isn't that much, but it all adds up in the end, is our stock and toner for checks. Those are vendor checks and payroll checks, so we're trying to reduce those costs by encouraging everyone to switch to direct deposit. And we're also going to begin working with vendors to switch to EFT payments for the monthly warrant, which helps us in the long run with bank reconciliations because the money directly leaves our account and goes into theirs. We don't have to worry about outstanding checks. Some of the highlights this year, we had vacancies throughout the last fiscal year, so we were able to hire 2 bilingual collections associates, which has increased our productivity in the office and helped with the quality of our customer service. We have canceled our lockbox services with Eastern Bank, which means they no longer open our mail for us and process the payments for us. We do it in-house, which allows us to do it a little faster and more efficiently. We've also been able to do that because we engaged with City Hall Systems, which is our online payment website, and all of our bills are payable online. And just an interesting fact, this pandemic, everyone's been hit in different ways. The rates for mortgages went so low that everyone was refinancing and selling homes, and so that increased our requests for municipal lien certificates. So throughout the pandemic, our office processed over 6,300 municipal lien certificates, which is a lot of work. But we were able to do that because also through City Hall Systems, attorneys and mortgage companies were able to request their municipal lien certificates online, which sped up our process. We didn't have to wait for the mail to come, and we didn't have to mail it out. We could email or fax the results to them. We're working closely with other departments, ISD and parking, to increase the 40U violations collections, and hopefully we'll be able to get those payments online as well. We do our benefits enrollment, so the benefits are handled through the treasurer's office. We work diligently with the personnel department, but we do those enrollments online to reduce paper. And through that online processing, we've been able to reduce our IRS findings, and we are not missing employees, new hires, promotions, people who qualify under the Affordable Care Act for health insurance. We are making sure everyone is properly offered. And then on the treasurer's side, we're diversifying our bank accounts, just building relationships with other banks to see the best rates we can get for our investments and make sure that we're doing our due diligence and being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. So we're just asking for a level funded budget. We'll be able to continue doing our hard work with this, and I'll open it up to any questions.
Great. Any questions from councilors? That 6,300, is that in one fiscal year, or is going back to the pandemic during the 2 years?
Through the pandemic, so FY20
Since the pandemic.
and FY22.
Wow, that's impressive number. Wow, a lot.
Maria's been busy.
Wow, yeah, I'll say. Thank you, Elise.
Yep.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll skip over vets. I think Mike had another commitment. We'll catch up with, we'll put him at the end if he does show up, Mike Sweeney. I did speak to him on the phone last night, and he said he was going to be coming from another event. The planning department, Aaron, Principal Planner Clausen, would you like to come up, please? Good evening.
Mr. Chair and members of the City Council. Aaron Clausen, the Principal Planning Director for the City of Lynn. want to thank the CFO's office and the mayor's office to help our department put together a budget that we believe is aligned with our mission as a planning department, which is to help the community realize a future vision for the city, in particular as it relates to land use, transportation, economic development, environment, open space, housing, arts and culture, and in other areas where we can support other city departments in that endeavor. There's a couple of key principles that we keep in mind as we put this budget together and our work plan over the next year, and I just want to kind of point out them because I think they are aligned with a lot of the projects that we're looking at bringing into the city and continuing into the next fiscal year, and that is to facilitate sustained community engagement and empowering all stakeholders to influence and participate in the decision-making at the city level, help provide strategic approaches to challenging issues that incorporate data, research, and sensitivity to interrelated topics. All those different elements that I just talked about in our mission statement all are interrelated, and we need to make sure that we're bringing that thinking into our processes as a department. Seek opportunities to make information more accessible and actionable, building on activities that took place over this last fiscal year into the next, like some of the mapping tools, online mapping tools that help the community understand what sort of private investment is coming to the city, what sort of public investment is happening within their neighborhoods and across the community. Understanding the relationship between approaches to planning and consideration for the city's arts and cultural activities and resources. Again, I want to thank the council for your support over this last fiscal year to bring on and fund an arts and cultural planner. Obviously, that's to help grow the arts and cultural ecosystem in the city, but also utilize arts and culture as a way to communicate and tell stories and inform our policymaking in that context. And then lastly, incorporating equity lens in designing processes for engagement and assessing outcomes that pays attention to factors like race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexuality, socioeconomic status, immigration status, language, digital access, and et cetera. Trying to bring in those considerations into our processes. We really believe that we put together a budget in partnership with the mayor's office and the CFO's office. And I want to thank my team, Lauren Drago, who is the associate principal planning director, and also Lucretia Thompson, the arts and culture planner, to help build this budget to carry out these activities. And just before I open it up to some questions, I just wanted to highlight some of the key initiatives that we're going to be bringing forth in the next year. One of them, I think you're all very familiar with, is Vision Lynn. It's the first ever comprehensive planning document and process that the city's ever done. We've kicked that initiative off and look forward to working with you all over the next 12 to 18 months and moving that process forward to completion. TDI Creative Cities program. This is a grant program that Lucretia went after in partnership with some of our key arts and cultural institutions and stakeholders, and we were able to receive that grant of over $550,000 to advance arts and culture and grow the ecosystem in the city and address all the issues that we want to see that sector bring forth, which is, again, communication, storytelling, enlivening our lives through culture and arts, but also in communicating policy in an interesting and engaging way. TDI District Initiative, many of you participated in that several years ago. We were able to bring on, or were awarded another TDI fellow to bring back that work to downtown, but with a focus on Union Street and in a sort of a shift in focus towards equitable economic development. So whereas the first fellow was more focused on facilitating and growing private investment and redevelopment of our downtown, this is more of a process to engage small business so that we can grow those small businesses as the community grows and really succeeds. And then continuing to work with all the various city departments and moving forward a number of initiatives through transportation improvement and the MPO TIP program and open space recreation, sustainability efforts into the next year. So look forward to working with you all and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Aaron, I just want to, not too much of a question, but just a few short years ago, the city of Lynn didn't have an organized planning department. It was funded through grant funding and then through the mayor's office and the city council. We set an ordinance to have the planning department. So for yourself and for Lauren and for Lucretia, the important work that you do, these initiatives that you proposed to us as a council, at our body and through the mayor's office. These initiatives don't happen overnight, so I just want to commend you and your office on really moving our city forward in the right direction over the past couple of years.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments or questions for Aaron? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We're going to move right along to Madam Clerk, City Clerk's Department, Janet Rowe.
Good evening, Janet Rose, City Clerk. The City Clerk's budget is pretty much level funded as well. The only increase for this year is in the election department. Due to the 2020 federal census, the population was increased by almost 11,000 people, making us the 7th largest city in the Commonwealth. Any applause for that? With these additional residents and the change of lines for the state delegation, we picked up 2 sub-precincts. These are in Ward 1, Precinct 2A, and Ward 4, 3A. We now have 30 precincts. Additional funds were applied for new voting machines, equipments, and poll work as needed for the 2 new precincts, along with additional maintenance. We are currently mailing over 6,000 households that have ward and precinct changes. We will be placing a notice in the item on our webpage, the Facebook, to alert voters of the changes as well. This info was also included in the annual city street census that was sent out, and that's still going on now. We are being proactive in getting the word out, especially to residents who have ward changes. Many of the councilors have already reached out to their constituents, and the mayor's office has offered to place a notice on his page as well, and I thank you all for doing that. I would like to note that with the help of our assessor, Chris Gaeta, and our assistant planner, Lauren Drago, we were able to have digital maps for voters to access, which tells them their ward, their precinct, their councilor, and their state rep. So this is a great tool that we're pushing on our election site page, the city website, and our Facebook page. People will just be able to go on and enter their street, and they can find out all of that information. It's great. It's a great job that they did. We'll continue to be proactive with this info all through the primary and the final. In closing, I want to say that I am very fortunate to have such a dedicated staff. Not only have they taken on a lot of additional work, but they give 100% to the City of Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. I know from the Mayor's Office we have Chief of Staff John Tebow. Good evening, John.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight to present the FY23 budget for the Mayor's Office. In addition to myself and the Mayor, our office has an Administrative Director, a Constituent Services Coordinator, an Outreach Director, a Communications Manager, and a Policy Director. The city's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer is also located within the Mayor's Office. The Mayor's Office strives to exhibit respect for all people within the city and places a high priority on constituent service, responsiveness, transparency, accountability, and equity. We constantly look at ways to increase civic pride and engagement and work tirelessly to improve the overall quality of life for all in Lynn. We work with partners at the state and federal levels to relay the city's priorities and collaborate on mutual goals. We have been working closely with the CFO on our office's operating budget, and while it is not without its challenges, we do still carry out on key priorities, including initial funding for an unarmed crisis response team and city staff training around diversity, equity, and inclusion. In a short time in office, we've hit the ground running, and beyond a wonderful inauguration ceremony, we've worked with City Hall departments to host an amazing Student Government Day. We're able to reconstitute key city boards and committees with diverse and qualified appointments. We've implemented interpretation services to address language barriers for residents accessing City Hall, and have engaged in dozens of residents at community flag raisings. We have also begun the implementation of the Housing Lynn Plan and look forward to continuing this important work. Additionally, our office worked with you all and the City Council to authorize $3 million in small business COVID relief grants, which have been distributed through EDIC to hundreds of businesses in great need. And we've also worked with you to pass a recombinant DNA ordinance, which approves the use of rDNA technology as part of a citywide effort to invest in the life sciences sector. We look forward to building on these successes in the coming fiscal year. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, John. Any questions from the council?
Counsel Staubach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, I asked this question to Peter in IT earlier. He said that the mayor's office was taking this on, but one of the things we heard a lot of comments about last fall was the city website, and I know a lot of us are curious as to what's going on with the website, and is it going to be upgraded?
Yeah, sure. I think it has a lot of great information about various city departments, but I think the accessibility can definitely be improved. Something that was a commitment of our office. So right now we're looking at we're currently working on an RFP with several city offices. So I think that right now is in draft form. We're hoping to put that out and start getting bids. An overhaul of the website's needed. And I think it's a key feature to increase connectivity with city residents. So it's something that we see as a main priority as well.
Okay, thank you. For somebody that's used to it, you know, we're on it every day. We pretty much know how to navigate our way around it, but I think for somebody getting it for the first time, it could be quite cumbersome.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Thank
Yep,
you.
we've heard that as well. We can improve, and we strive to do so. So
great, thank you.
Yeah.
And Counsel Field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John, I'm just, one quick question. Fiscal 22, the mayor's office was budgeted at just over 1.3 million. The request for 2023 was just over 1.4, and then the recommended fell at 1.16. So there was a significant decrease in the request and what was granted from the mayor, and that was compared to 2022. Still short, you know, a significant amount. Is there an explanation?
I don't have a solid explanation. I mean, I think we're trying to tighten our fiscal belt, but yeah, I can look that into it. And I expect that the mayor, come June 14th, will probably have a little bit more specific answers to some of these questions.
Okay, thank you.
Counsel Allenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for your information, Councilor Starbird, I still get lost in that website. For our city size, is your staff of 6 or 5 or 7 at the city mayor's office sufficient enough, or have you reached that goal or quota or maximum number of staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're trying to, we're 5 months in. I think the staff that we have is doing an amazing job. So we certainly feel capable. And I think we definitely have a large population, but we're doing a great job right now. The team is really.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions, comments for John? Seeing none, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. All right, and last but not least is our office, City Council office. We're happy. We're happy with what we have. Thank you. All right, we always would like more, but we're happy with what we have.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Questions of ourselves? Yes. Okay. That concludes our Budget Committee agenda for the evening. We wrapped it up in one session, which is heroic. We will move on to June 14th for the Committee of the Whole and send down the public hearing, I think, in our agenda later this evening. Right now, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks, everyone.
to please come up here.
Doing that now?
And Councillor Hogan, please. Oh, he's here. Okay, good. Thank you. This is a very, very historic and important day for our city because we're going to honor a teacher who is actually the best teacher in America. It is my honor to introduce Taimon Tran, a middle school computer science teacher at Thurgood Marshall Middle School in Ward 3. Mr. Tran is a recipient of this year's Amazon's Future Engineer Teacher of the Year award. He was selected out of thousands of eligible teachers for the award. Basically, America's best teacher is right here, right now, in this room. The recognition comes with $5,000 cash award, and the middle school, our school, received $25,000. So thank you, Mr. Tran. The Amazon Future Engineer Teacher of the Year awards honor and recognize all-star teachers working diligently to help students in underserved and underrepresented communities pursue futures in computer science and robotics. This is so long. Tran initiated a computer science training program at Marshall so that the school could offer computer science classes to students for the first time. He adapted his programs to students' interests, proficiency levels, and learning requirements by introducing different methods. For and in behalf of the council, of our council president, Jay Walsh, my fellow city councilors of Lynn, the mayor, and the whole city of Lynn, we say we're very proud of you, and please accept our biggest congratulations and this citation. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Taimon Tran. Thank you. You can stay there first. I would like to, thank you, councilors. I would like to request our mayor to say some words for Mr. Tran, and then you could do some acceptance speech if you want. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilor Alan Sugg, for the wonderful remarks and for helping us put together this recognition that is so well-deserved. It's really an honor as mayor to be able to welcome Mr. Tran to the podium for this recognition, for this national award. It's amazing that Mr. Tran is doing this work. It's one thing to master the technology. I think we can all tell you how challenging that is for everybody, how it changes, and how much it takes to be able to keep up with what's going on. It's a whole nother level of mastery to be able to pass that on to others. And then going even further to pass that on to middle schoolers at a time where, you know, that's an age we all know is challenging, but it's so important. It's such an important age, that transition to becoming young adults, that thinking about the future and knowing that our students in Lynn are thinking about their future in technology as a result of Mr. Tran's mastery of the concepts and his willingness to pass that along to the next generation and his willingness to do it right here in Lynn. We're so lucky. We're so grateful. We're very glad that Amazon has recognized the incredible talent we have, the excellence that we have in the Lynn Public Schools, and that Mr. Tran is here today to accept this award. Congratulations, Mr. Tran.
And on behalf of the Lynn City Council, Mr. Tran, putting Lynn on the map again, all right, in the education world, that's the best. We all have a lot of athletes in the city that we celebrate, but teachers are the biggest things to our athletes, to our students, and we thank Mr. Tran from the Lynn City Council.
I really appreciate the honor, recognition, and the opportunities that this brings, especially a big thank you, a big, wonderful thank you to Amazon for all that grant money that kind of comes our way. And I just think of myself as like, I'm just doing what I can. I'm bringing my best every day for the students to try to like make sure that they have the right opportunities. When I came to Lynn, Me and my wife just came here last summer, so this is our first year in Lynn. I'm really happy to be making, both of us, a big splash in teaching and in the education world. She's also a teacher, but she works in Salem. But, you know, she's still doing good work, you know. It's hard work. So coming from New York, both of us, we were very surprised at, like, the diversity of the students. And so I'm really happy that the administrators here have kind of dedicated themselves to hiring teachers of, like, diversity, of color, you know. And so when I see these students, I think all the things that this money means to them. I think all the things that we can do with it to kind of like uplift their lives and make an actual impact. Because we can use that money to improve their education by bringing in new equipment and dedicating it to robotics and computer science, giving them opportunities that they might not have otherwise had, and having them internalize and think about what does it mean to want and have and be respected with new stuff in a world where they might be coming in and all they get are hand-me-downs. And right now, in the classroom, it's looking like hand-me-downs. It's looking like keyboards and that have keys popped out from 4 different manufacturers. So I'm hoping that we can send a good message to these students by saying, we care about you, we care about your future, all the teachers are here to support you, we're bringing our best, not just individuals, but also in trying to make an impact with the technology and the money and the servicing that we can do for them, you know? And I think that's something else that can really bring that to the table and make them feel like they matter, is by giving them individual support. I've been having the opportunity of meeting with students one-on-one after school just because they're really passionate about this kind of stuff. And so they might not have seen this otherwise if they didn't have another teacher. There's a lot of teachers in our school that stay after school and support students. I've been working with a couple students that have been really excited about making games of their own. And so spending some time, an hour here, an hour there after school, really has shown them like, hey, someone's listening, someone cares, someone wants to help you, someone wants to foster you being able to reach your potential. And I just want to ensure that as we move forward, we still have that possibility of having like those small classroom sizes to make sure that we have those intimate solutions with students so that we can figure out what's best for them. You know, we don't want to lose that. And so I just encourage everyone to think about what can we do for our kids, every single one of us, you know? Thank you so much for the recognition. I appreciate it.
The other counselors want to come up for a photo. If you guys want a couple ladies, counselors, come on up.
It'll be Richard. He sits back in his chair like this. Right? Oh, you just got shot on the look. Shot on the look. Oh, yeah.
Jay, 2 minutes?
Roll call.
Counsel Allensburg?
Here.
Counsel Barton?
Present.
Present Counsel Chakutis?
Present.
Present Counsel Calucci? Absent. Counselor Field?
Present.
Present Counsel Hogan?
Present.
Present Counsel LaPierre?
Present.
Present Counsel Lozey? Present Counsel Net?
Present.
Present Counsel Starbird?
Present.
Present Counsel Walsh?
Present. Can we all rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Communications.
We have a communication from His Honor the Mayor. Dear councilors, I would like to present to you the City of Lynn's fiscal 2023 municipal budget. This balanced budget in the amount of $448,097,935 builds on the city's financial stability and presents a strong outlook. I respectfully request that the City Council set down a public hearing on this budget for Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to my office. Sincerely, Mayor Jared C. Nicholson.
It's the wish of the council.
Set it down.
A motion to set it down. We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Alanson.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Calucci absent, Counsel Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Starbed.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh.
Yes. Public hearings.
We have a public hearing for Bayron Argueta, owner of Selena's Market, for permission to have a fruit stand, tent, and seating with 2 tables and 4 chairs for ice cream service at 361 Boston Street.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Come up to the podium. Come on up to the podium.
Oh, I'm Calvin Anderson, 12 Concord Street in Lynn, and I love al fresco opportunities. I saw this on the agenda, and I just had to speak up in favor of this.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Just come on up, state your name for the record and your address, please.
Hey, I'm Byron. I am the one in Salinas Market, Lynn. So we just want to put a tent outside with so we can sell wholesale to the community around us. So I want to see if we're okay with that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just hang around in case anyone has any questions for you afterwards, okay? You just hang out here, but just local.
Oh,
here, so
if someone has any questions?
Seat's fine.
Oh, I
Yep.
can do that anyway? Oh, okay.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone want to speak in opposition? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the council? Councilor Hogan?
Can you come back up, please, Byron? Now, when I walked out to the fruit stand, out to your business, did you go around to the neighbors in the general location and talk to them?
I have, no, I haven't been able to right now, but I can, I actually take along well with the side neighbors. I know the guy who bought the next door, I don't know if the little place. I know the neighbor next to me, he's a good friend of mine. And
what's the hours you're looking for and the dates?
just in the mornings, not till maybe from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 5 p.m.
9 to 5 sounds.
9 to 5.
Monday, how many days?
We plan to do it, weekend? Yeah, Friday, Saturdays, yeah,
All right,
Sundays.
so Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
All right. All right, you're all set.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with those stipulations and times.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Councilor Field?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question. Have any of the neighbors been notified? I know Councilor Hogan just asked if the neighbors, if he's reached out personally, but have the neighbors received any notification about this?
It was posted a public hearing. Why are you asking me?
Neighbors notified about this petition?
Yes, abutters were notified.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All abutters, I'm sorry.
And and I have a question for the owner. Is it a permanent fixture? Is this something that's going to be taken down every night? Is it ADA compliant?
If you could come back up to the podium and just answer the question for the councilor, please. So Councilor Field wanted to know if it was a fixture that gets taken down every night and then gets back
sidewalk,
out?
or is it in the driveway?
It's a driveway. It's not on
Doesn't
the,
encroach on the sidewalk for people that are...
no. It's, there's the sidewalk, it's separate. We're not gonna use the sidewalk, we're gonna use the driveway.
Okay.
It's on the, yeah, it's a private property, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call?
Counsel Alanson? Counsel Alanson?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton?
Yes.
Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Counsel Calucci absent, Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey? Yes, Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Starbed?
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh?
We have way too much fun here. Yes. All right, the motion carries. Public hearings to be set down.
We have set down a public hearing for an ordinance creating a City of Lynn Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
It's the wish of this council.
Motion to set down.
A motion to set down. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Any other public hearings to be set down?
We have set down a public hearing regarding the petition of Comcast for a grant of location to place one PVC conduit to a utility pole at Hanson Street.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion to set down.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other public hearings to be set down?
Nope, that's it.
Committees. Licensing, Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a unanimous vote by the committee. I make a motion to approve that.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public Property and Parks, Councilor Staubed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One order of business order authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the MBTA to assume ownership of an easement to construct a handicapped accessible bus stop at Myrtle Street and Wilfred Street. Unanimous vote of the committee. Motion to approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Lynn Trash and Litter Subcommittee, Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. Along with Councilor Chakutis, our co-chair, we had a litter committee meeting today in order to take a vote on the 20 winners from each elementary school, 18 public, 2 private, and Councilor Chakutis and I and our committee are happy to announce that the votes have been tallied, and Kelly DeLeon from the Cobbett Elementary School is the citywide winner. Her poster will be on a billboard this summer sometime on Boston Street, just outside the Dunkin' Donuts on the southbound side, right on the intersection of North Bend and Boston Street. Her poster was selected. All 20 posters that you see here displayed in the council chamber today will be off to Lynn Vocational Technical Graphics Arts Department, where the students will be printing 100 copies of each of these posters. So we appreciate the help from Lynn Tech doing that, and we'll be looking to distribute those 2,000 posters sometime this summer to different businesses throughout the community, promoting a cleaner city for all of us to enjoy.
Excuse me,
So
Council.
I
Councilor
enjoy
Hogan.
What number poster was it?
Number
sir?
13. Number 13. It's right in front of the council president. It's
Very
the
nice.
one where it's a beach scene. It was a significant,
water?
it was a substantial lead. Everybody, there was about 9 or so votes, that received first place votes, but that one won by a few lengths.
Great.
So we do congratulate Kelly DeLeon, Cobbett Elementary, but we also acknowledge every second grader that participated. I also want, again, acknowledge my colleagues on the council, on the school committee, the mayor, the DPW, superintendent for allowing us to be in, to educate these second graders, and really, now they're going to educate the rest of us. So
That's great, great job. I know there was a lot of work put into that by the council, and I know everybody visited schools here. And it seems like the kids get it. We just got to get the parents to understand it now, right? So that's going to be our hurdle. But good job and congratulations, and thank you, Councilor Field. Ways and Means, Councilor Staubed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Financial transfers and 2 orders, unanimous vote of the committee. Motion to approve.
We have the clerk read them into the register.
$200,000 by the Mass Housing Agency to identify and assess abandoned and foreclosed properties in the Orchard Grove neighborhood. $100,000 by the Department of Travel and Tourism for cultural enhancements at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, the City of Lynn hereby establishes a school construction stabilization fund for the purpose of funding future school building projects. And lastly, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, the City of Lynn hereby establishes the School Operational Stabilization Fund for the purpose of funding operational needs of the school department.
What is the wish of the council? We have a motion.
second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Counsel Allensburg?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Barton? Yes. Counsel Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Calucci absent. Counsel Field?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Net?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Staubed?
Yes.
Yes. Counsel Walsh?
Yes.
We have one more that was in new business, right? That's what my friend was reminding me. It came under new business, I'm sorry. Ordered that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A and a half, the City of Lynn hereby accepts a gift of 18 computers to be utilized by the City of Lynn Elder Affairs Department from TEK Collaborative and the Essex County Community Foundation. Further ordered that the Comptroller Office is hereby authorized to take any necessary action to effectuate the purpose of said gift.
What is the wish of the council? We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any discussion? Comment? Roll call.
Counsel Alan
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Calucci absent. Counsel Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staubach.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh.
Yes.
And
Motion
there
carries.
was an
Do we have an emergency on those items?
Transfers, motion approved.
We have a motion
Second.
approved. We have a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Counsel Alan
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Barton.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Chakutis.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Calucci absent. Counsel Field.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Hogan.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel LaPierre.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Lozey.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Net.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Staubach.
Yes.
Yes, Counsel Walsh.
Yes. Any old business? Oh, sorry, went over the budget, the big thing. Sorry about that, Counsel LaPierre with the budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we began and concluded by having our informational budget hearings for the councilors to ask questions. With the exception of the Harbor Master and the Veterans Office, all departments were represented. Both have, they did notify us ahead of time that they weren't able to be here present, but we could follow up with them in preparation for sending down the budget for a public hearing on June 14th, and this committee took a motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any old business? Any new business? Councilor Jacutis.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to Chris and his staff. We opened the senior center this week. They did a great job. And can I have Chris, Tanya, Mabel, and Michelle stand up? There is our senior center staff. We just want to thank you for all the time you're putting in right now. I know it's tough. You guys are just opening for a few hours. But I just want to say thank you for everything you do. And just seeing the smile on the seniors' face when they all got together the other day, it was amazing. So you guys are doing amazing work with what you have right now. Thank you.
Great job. Any other business? We have a motion? We have a
Second.
Okay.
can tell them Ingalls is a huge problem there, and I brought that up several times, and I'm getting tired of asking for the simple